Retro Hangover is supported via Patreon by listeners like you. We would especially like to thank patrons Lyle McCarnes, Randall Quiggle, Tony G, Tom the Superhero, Studstill Smash the Milkman, Lucas from Game Over Hell, Raging Demon from Command List, Mast Keaton, JC, Ozzy Garcia, Megan Caruso, Dave Jackson from Tales from the Backlog, Retro Overdrive, Soha, Storm Beagle and Captain N from Retrotopia, The Emperor, Matt aka Stormageddon from Bunning Games and Reignite Podcasts, Van Fernal and B. Ross from Super Garbage Day, Jared Breland, Keith Gasper from the Main Quest Podcast, Retro Vixen, Eric Guess from the Unlockables Podcast, Nomad from the Retro Wildlands Podcast, Ash Event, Alan Bingham, Mike the Ref from Backbreaker Gaming, Alt, Low 5 Alex from Low 5 Gaming, Oh Me, Gary Heather, Makeshift Money, Riskel, Sega Boy 7, and Adam R. Your continued engagement and generous donations are deeply appreciated.
Open your ears and crack some beers. You are listening to the most recent episode of Retro Hangover.
Retro and classic gamers, welcome to the podcast where we show salient shadows sharing shouldering stable sickos. This is Retro Hangover. I'm your co-host Chris Copleen with special guest Soha, and as always, your host Shane Colossal Dick Crumbling Dragon Salter.
You know, you could have just done me a solid and just like left it at, colossal dick dragon. You didn't have to add crumbling. It was fine the way it was.
It's thematic.
But I don't want 16 parts of an evil demon spirit to inhabit my dick dragon. That seems like a bad plan, Chris.
Look, I don't make the rules. Well, I mean, I do, but I want them to be thematic. And by the way, every single time it collapses, Shane, it's sad, and you contemplate life choices. Kind of like how most men feel after masturbation, I think.
I would say, are each of the colossi like just a small bit of like post-nut clarity? Is that what this is?
I think so.
Okay.
In fact, that's what this game is. We're talking about this game already. This game is just a euphemism for post-nut clarity. That's all it is. We're about to have a 3.5 hour episode on post-nut clarity.
Holy shit, now that you talk about it, it does make sense. It does make sense.
I would just like, I don't know where I was going to fit this in, so I feel like now is as good a time as any, that while I was sitting there playing through this, I was explaining the story and what was going on to my wife, and she was just like, I just feel like you could save yourself a lot of trouble by just getting real comfortable with necrophilia. And I'm like, what the fuck?
I mean,
but also you're kind of not wrong. You're kind of not wrong.
I mean, he could kind of just get through 8 and then she's half alive.
Yeah. Just warm enough.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's just in a coma at that point. I mean,
she did also suggest the horse, but I mean,
I mean, to be honest, that was quite a pristine corpse right there. I don't know how long the game passes, and she just stays there.
Must be cold.
Probably.
Frozen tundra. Gotta warm her up.
Do you think the dick dragon could take that?
I mean, all things are possible through the dick dragon. So
So that's going to be the tagline: Shadow of the Colossus, post-nut clarity after necrophilic sex.
I feel like that might be a little wordy. We might need to cut that one down a bit.
Post necrophilia cum clarity.
My lord. You know what? We'll workshop it. We'll workshop it.
Yeah. Shane is a wizard with words. You'll find that clarity somehow this week, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But welcome to the show, Soha. It's been a minute since you were here with StarCraft.
Yeah,
that was a fun episode. I'm glad that we could have you back. Great member of our community, now the host of the RHRC, the Retro Hangover Review Crew. It's good to have you on here again.
Well, thank you for calling me for doing this episode. And yeah, I'm glad to be back. Now donning more hats, I suppose. Both in the community and outside.
Oh.
Well, yeah, but since then, I've become the other half of Game Over Hell as well. So
I've noticed,
there's also that. Yeah. So there's that. And yeah, I've become the host for the RHRC. And I've been slacking off lately, but it's mainly because this month has been hell. And it's not because Halloween. It's just been hell, basically.
Well, I mean,
at least
it's thematic.
Yeah,
and you're also going into summer, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's because it's not even the problem with summer, but it's more because I had so many things to do. Speaking of, I'm looking for people to put a taper over the pool that I have here in this house because my dog fell in it.
Oh no!
My dog is like 15 years old and he's just stumbling around the places and such. And I was over here, I was playing my Super Metroid map rando, and then I just hear a splash on the pool, and I'm like, oh my god, the dog fell in a pool. I can't believe it. And but at least I was quick to rescue him, and then I had to put a bunch of chairs around the pool and be like, you're not getting past here. Not anymore.
Gotta save the puppers.
Yeah. I mean,
it's hard to swim when you're 15 years old.
It is quite hard. And that is not a shallow pool. There's no way for him to get out. I mean, how else am I going to tell him not to go into the pool? Shock him? We got it in.
We never stop with the dog collar jokes on Retro Hangover. It's never going to end. We're going to beat a dead dog. I was going to say horse, but no. Anyway, let's move into the episode proper with our introduction, where we talk about what games that we have been playing. And as tradition goes, as we are wont to do, we start with our guests, and then myself and Shane will go into it. So, Soha, what games have you been playing lately?
Well, apart from, one thing I was thinking before coming into this episode, you guys say game du jour, and I'm like, that's French. Mm-hmm. And I'm not too fond of the French. That's a joke, by the way, but I'm not too fond of the French. My lawyer told me to say that. So
you need a new lawyer.
I have to say this in my own language. I gotta bring this to my locality. All right. So
is it French, Portuguese?
It's just Portuguese.
Oh.
So what I played apart from o jogo da vez was not many things. This was quite a busy month. Actually, I've been playing so little lately that I could just tell you what I've played this year, and it would be quite a short list. But lately, I've been quite addicted to Super Metroid map randos, as I was saying, that I was playing before my dog fell into the pool. And it's fun because it's like, I know you're such a Super Metroid lover, Chris.
The biggest.
Yeah, the biggest Metroid fan over here. But
everyone thinks of Metroid when they think of me.
Yeah, but it's really fun because you just pick a great game with great mechanics, and it's like, what if we shuffle around the map and put the items all over the place, like shuffled as well, and you get this this community of people that like to play the game as well, and you race each other. It's fun. It's just fun. It's really fun, and I like it a lot. Apart from that, I played some horror games for some videos for Game Over Hell. One of them still is yet to come out. It's gonna come out at the 31st. Spoilers. Well, technically not. It's gonna come. This episode is gonna come out later, but so it's already on Game Over Hell. Go check it. It's about you and Nikki. If you haven't heard of it, it's an RPG Maker 2003 game. It's quite the influential game. If you never heard of Humaniki.
Corpse Party?
No, Humaniki.
Oh.
I haven't played Corpse Party, but I've heard a lot of it as well. Humaniki was pretty much the inspiration for Undertale and Omori. If those are quite the popular games lately. It was like, I heard of it quite a long while ago. I played it a long while ago as well, and I went back to it, and it's like, it's still really great, but it's quite an odd one. So check the video out. Go link in the description or somewhere. Anyway, and I also played Firework, which is a Chinese developed game that looks like Detention. It's not made by Red Candle, but the presentation is really similar. I liked it. It was quite a nice story. I recommend it if you really like those kinds of horror games that like to delve into spiritualism and stuff like that. And this one is quite bittersweet. I also made a video for it on Game Over Hell, so you can check that, my opinion on that. Replayed The Last Guardian to get some footage for a video I'm gonna make on my own channel.
No.
Yeah. By the way, I got both my darlings here. I got both Michel, the Colossus, and The Last Guardian right by my side here. And the flight from this week, talking about the favorite console generations. It's hard for me not to put the 8th one, right? The 8th console generation in this regard.
Yeah.
Because come on, look what you have in the PS4, bro. I mean, you
a
could
remake
play
of a PS2 game and technically a kind of remastered PS3 game.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why I put the 6th one as my favorite. You guy, I just
Yeah. Got to.
And I think that apart from those games, I haven't really played that much. Anything that much recently. I think the one that I can say, that was quite closer to it was Unicorn Overlord. And I had quite a history with it because I started it last year. I dropped it for like a whole year and came back to it like, I'll try to beat the game again. For some reason, I got stuck in a level, and then I just couldn't go through. And then I came back to it a year later, cleared it, no problem, beat the game. And I was like, okay, this game is amazing, but why did I get stuck in that level? I don't know. It just happens. It happened the same with the cave story. I got stuck in the hell portion of Cave Story. I dropped it for 6 years. I returned to it, was like, oh, I beat it. Oh, cool. Oh, Cave Story is cool. Great game. Recommended.
Yeah, I think I think we're talking about that this upcoming year, right?
Yeah, I made it a point because I know we've talked about it a lot, and
Yeah.
I actually want to play it. I have not played it, so
It's good.
Great. You're gonna have a blast.
I want to get into it. I bet. Looks really good. I can't wait. So, yeah, look for Cave Story in 2026. Looking forward to it. Shane, have you had time to do any video gaming?
Well, I played this game where you scale these very large creatures for morally ambiguous purposes, and you got a horse. But no, I mean, besides what we're talking about today, not too much. One thing of note, I think, is the game that I played on the most recent stream at the time of this recording, which is Darkenstein 3D. I had no idea this existed. And then the social media algorithm did me a solid and showed me a reel about this on Instagram. And I was like, holy crap, what is this? And it's by Microprose. If anybody haven't heard that friggin' name in a while.
Mm-mm.
And it is just 100% like a love letter to Wolfenstein in every way possible. And it's really good. I was having a lot of fun with it. It's very tongue in cheek with its writing and the humor, and plus the gameplay is really satisfying. So yeah, man, and it's free. I should note that it is 100% free, the entire game. You can just go grab it on Steam right now. It's free. Highly recommend if you are into the boomer shooters. But that's pretty much it, man. Like, I haven't really been doing too much else other than, just the usual like mobile game stuff. I'm still playing Necromerger. The Halloween event is going on right now, so getting that on. But other than that, not too many else. Not too many else. I do a podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I know how to speak the good words. Anyway,
speak the English.
Yeah,
well, now we know
that's all.
Yeah, now we know why no one listens to it. So
that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm done rambling. Chris, what have you been doing?
Just joking. We love you, listeners. We know there's dozens of you, and we love you. What have I been playing? Well, for the RHRC, I played Silent Hill 4 for probably longer than I should have. I really haven't had a lot of time to game lately, but I did play some Silent Hill 4 for the RHRC. My review is up there. I thought it was okay. It's okay. There's so much promise and potential in Silent Hill 4. Like, it's all there. I think like the plot is incredibly dark, but it misfires so often where it could have just been absolutely amazing. And I feel like there's a lot of missed opportunities. And it also feels like Team Silent was building the game on a shoestring budget. It's it's mind-boggling how good and how bad it is simultaneously. I think that's the only way I can really put it. It also like it's one of the best and worst escort missions.
Yeah,
it's like, oh well, the escorted person doesn't suck. And they can hold their own, but at the same time, like, they don't ever do what you want them to, ever.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's Silent Hill 4. Also very horny.
I mean, is that not just like kind of a through line for, at least half of the Silent Hill games, really?
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess. I haven't played 3. Is 3 horny?
Not that I recall. No.
1 has a little horny. It's not very horny. 2 has a lot of horny.
Yeah.
like weird, like all sorts of horny. Yeah. Good horny, bad horny.
2 is like, but what if I had the idealized, like, slutted up version of my dead wife?
Yeah. Probably some clarity.
Bringer of post-nut clarity.
Post-nut clarity into a pillow.
I guess Wander could learn a thing or two from James. I don't know.
All the monsters in Silent Hill are just pieces of a larger being that he has to overcome. That would have made a good segue, but I also went to an arcade, so I can't do this. Well, fuck it, I'll just do the segue. I went to arcade and played arcade games, and Shane was there. But speaking of Silent Hill, and yeah, we did that.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Happy birthday to my kid. You're almost
happy birthday.
Okay. Yes. That was a while ago now, so don't wish him a happy birthday. He doesn't deserve that.
You get nothing.
I'll take it that way then.
All right, please do. Anyway, we're here to talk about Shadow of the Colossus. And what can we say about it? Well, we're about to say a lot. I'm assuming I'm doing the brief history. So Shane, let's tee this off for me to get into this appropriately, please, sir.
Oh, wow. Awesome. That was not awkward at all. Thank you, Chris.
Seamless.
Seamless. So, hey, we sure are talking about a game from like the early 2000s that also was remade, and it's pretty neat. and a lot of people like it. So, Chris, would you like to elaborate on that by providing some brief history behind Shadow of the Colossus?
Let's jump back to late 2001, right after the cult classic Ico quietly hit shelves. Critics absolutely loved Ico, but in terms of sales, it barely made a dent. Despite that, Fumito Ueda and his team at Sony Computer Entertainment Japan didn't waste any time. They dove straight into their next project. The new game began as a direct sequel, and given the code name Nico. Ueda's theory? Maybe what Ico was missing for mainstream appeal was a bit more action. Something that could draw in a wider gaming audience, especially in the West. So the team started thinking big. A sprawling open world, traversal by horseback, and even, get this, an online multiplayer mode. That's right, the earliest version of what we know as Shadow of the Colossus was actually inspired by the big, chaotic battles from Battlefield 1942. But it didn't take long for reality to hit. The multiplayer idea just wasn't working, so the team pivoted. What resulted was a totally single-player experience, one that would be even more memorable for it. A lot of Ueda's vision was about flipping expectations. He noticed that most games with huge bosses made you fight them from a distance, usually with big weapons or spells. But he wanted something more intimate. A game where you had to climb right into the colossal monsters and take them down with just a simple melee weapon. The idea came from his love of kaiju movies, those classic creature features, and also explored the theme of cruelty as a means of expression. Ueda saw that as a theme everywhere at the time, especially in controversial hits like Grand Theft Auto. Development really picked up steam in September 2003, after an early build got the green light that spring. But it wasn't exactly an easy sell. Sony's branch in America was lukewarm about the idea, nervous after how Ico had fared commercially. Fortunately, Ueda's team won them over with a strong demo and some deft negotiating, so support for localization fell into place. That's when the naming issue cropped up. In Japan, the game would go by Wander and the Colossus, but Sony's US team felt a name change was in order. That's how we got the title Shadow of Colossus for the Western release. The first big public reveal was in September 2004 via the Japanese PlayStation website, followed by a splashy showing at E3 in 2005. Crowds were impressed by the atmosphere, but critical of rough frame rates and hit detection. With launch looming, Team Ico scrambled to tune up those problems before release. Shadow of the Colossus finally landed on PlayStation 2 in North America on October 18, 2005, just a week ahead of the Japanese launch. Europe and other PAL territories followed a few months later in February of 2006. Critically, the game was a smash, sitting pretty at a 91 average on Metacritic. Reviewers were blown away by the immersive world and haunting soundtrack, though some pointed out the less than perfect frame rate, camera, and controls. Still, the positives far outweighed the negatives. The game scooped up tons of Game of the Year awards and kept showing up on Best of lists for the PS2 long after launch. Sales-wise, it did much better than Ico, moving about 1.2 million worldwide, with North America leading the pack. Since then, Shadow of the Colossus has inspired a whole generation of games, from God of War to Zelda Breath of the Wild and Elden Ring. More than that, it's often credited as the game that pushed mainstream conversations about video games as an art form. It was remastered for the PlayStation 3 in 2011 and got a full remake for the PlayStation 4 in 2018. If you're looking for one of the most iconic, influential, and downright beautiful games ever made, Shadow of the Colossus earns its reputation. And that is your brief history of Shadow of the Colossus.
All right. Thank you, Chris, for that brief history. Man, can you imagine if this had been a multiplayer game? I don't even think we'd be having this discussion right now.
No, because we're never talking about SOCOM, so that's definitely not happening. I could see it, though. I could see it conceptually.
I mean, at that point, isn't it just Monster Hunter, kinda?
A little bit. A little
Yeah.
bit. Except with all the, arcadey gameplay and all that. But yeah, well, it's kind of Monster Hunter. Think about it.
I actually would like to see them take a stab at that. No, that's not a pun. I understand how you kill Colossus.
Ah.
Yeah, Colossi. I think you could do something interesting with that. A multiplayer Shadow of the Colossus. I think that could be possible. I think it'd be difficult, but I'd love to see the attempt. I think a lot of people would complain about it, but that's pretty much every game nowadays. So I think it'd be interesting.
I mean, I guess
also, like, yeah.
I was just saying, I guess it depends, though, right? Because if you, I would be interested to know what approach they were planning on taking with that, because the way, and obviously we'll get more in depth in a little bit about this, but the way that you approach each one of these encounters is very much a puzzle that has a solution. So like, as soon as the first person figures it out, everyone's going to know the solution. Like, that's part of the problem with a lot of persistent multiplayer games, like MMOs, especially. Like, that was one of the reasons that Secret World was so cool, but was like, it kind of sucked in a way because it relied so heavily on these puzzles and riddles and stuff, which was awesome. But like, the internet exists. So, those answers were everywhere, and then it kind of defeats the purpose. So I would have been interested to see like how they would have approached it differently.
I wonder if it was more of a true action game when it started.
I feel like it would have had to have been.
Yeah, it would kind of have to be.
Yeah, maybe if you had more options for, weapons or horse, like just do more things in horseback, maybe
Yeah.
there could be some sort of approach to having it not just be entirely puzzle. It was just like more of a group effort to take the Colossus down. Because if we compare it to Monster Hunter once again, Monster Hunter kind of also is sometimes a puzzle, as you try not to die immediately when fighting a monster that is really strong. And so it could be kind of the same idea, but yeah, it would be quite difficult. But you never know. If they made Elden Ring a roguelite, why not?
They did. Did they make an expansion to Elden Ring? Like, no one talks about that anymore. Like, the deals, is that dead?
Well, I guess people played through it and was like, well, yeah, like that's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that's
actually
wild.
I haven't bought it or even looked at it. So I don't know.
Huh.
Well, I saw people playing it and it was pretty much just, well, yeah, it's more Elden Ring. I think some
Yeah.
people were kind of not disappointed, but they were kind of overwhelmed because it seemed to be really difficult. I guess kind of the same way Silksong is much more difficult compared to Hollow Knight. But yeah, I guess they played it and was like, well, yeah, but now we have this roguelike here. Wow, it's so cool. We can play this infinitely.
Anyway, going back to Shadow of the Colossus. The history for Shadow of the Colossus is very well documented. You can go multiple places. That was a very brief history. Just go check out everything. There's actually, over at the design room, which I got tipped off on, and I shared with our group, and I got it from Dave Jackson. Thank you, Dave Jackson. They had an oral history where they sat down with a lot of the members of Team Eco and other members that were around, and significant members from the development teams and just into production teams about what was going on around it. It's fascinating. And they did it for the 20th anniversary. So even the Wikipedia article, if you go to Wikipedia and you look it up there, it's just like the history is massive. It's so massive. and it doesn't even cover everything.
It's colossal.
Aha,
It's colossal.
There it is.
One would say. But yeah, there's so much to it. So if you're interested about Shadow of the Colossus's history, you can find it. It's out there. There's so much. It's not a secret whatsoever. Okay. Now it's time to get into the personal experiences. Shane, how about you start this one off?
Yeah, that should be pretty easy. So I'd heard about this game. I think it's one of those ones that is so. This is risking sounding hyperbolic right off the get. So I mean, like, take it for whatever it's worth. But it's one of those ones that seems to be so influential that it's almost impossible not to at least hear about it if you're, even sort of like tangentially related to gaming circles anywhere. And so it's something that I've always been aware of. It was just something I had never actually played or really seen anybody play. And having said that, though, still somehow got the emotional surprise toward the end of the game spoiled for me, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, so I didn't do anything with this until we said we were going to talk about it on the show. Oh, fun fact, by the way, Chris, you know how I said I was like, oh yeah, I've got the remake for my PS4. It's just sitting on my shelf. I just gotta fire it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was The Last Guardian. I have a copy of The Last Guardian.
Play it.
It's the same game, right?
I mean,
no, they are not. Okay, shut your mouth.
So I was like looking through my shelf and I was like, oh shit, I thought that this was Shadow of the Colossus because it kind of sort of looked the same from the cover. God damn it. So then I went and looked, and fortunately it was on sale for $9.99 on the PlayStation Store. So I bought it digitally and played it. But I 100% did not actually have it, even though I thought that I did. So there you go. That's my personal history with it.
That's awesome.
I'm having a laughing fit here because I look like I was gonna tell you, don't you dare to say that about Trico. Don't you dare just say, oh, they're the same thing. No, Trico's special. And then I remember, oh my God, you cannot put a shock collar on Trico, bro.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, you can't get Trico claimed. I'm glad this content is going to age well.
I'm sure. I'm sure it will.
I'm sure it's
Also,
definitely not going to be just like the Pro Jared stuff.
I bet some people would love to do that to Trico, by the way. I bet.
I'm sure there's artwork.
Some people were like, oh, he doesn't obey me. He doesn't. What do I do? He doesn't do what I want him to do. Where's my shock collar? Damn it. Well, yeah.
Is that Rule 34?
It could be.
I would rather not know. That is one of the rare instances that I genuinely cannot tell you if it actually exists. Now I'm curious, however, but I will leave that for later.
Hey, if you want to know what we're talking about, I just want everyone to know that there's 34 rules in a how-to guide Trico from The Last Guardian. So just type in Trico Rule 34 in your search bar, and I'm sure that you'll find the answer about how to keep Trico trained. But moving on, my personal experience. I can't recall how I heard about this game, because I didn't I played it when I was on leave. So I just got done with aircrew school, and I went home at the time being back up outside Chicago for a month. I was sleeping in the basement, when I was not out and about, and on a little CRT TV, couldn't be more than 14 inches at all. And I brought my PS2 with me. And I don't know why I brought my PS2. Oh, because I didn't have a home, because I was moving between barracks rooms or whatever. That's why. And I don't know what possessed me, because I got there at the beginning of October. I put in a pre-order for the game. And then I picked it up, and I as soon as I'd be done hanging out with my friends during the day, and like if it was a weekday, because normal people have school or work or whatever, I just like played the hell out of it. And I found myself just being completely obsessed with this game. I would just like sit in the basement, my mom's basement, and play Shadow of the Colossus while I was on vacation, which is just weird. And I just remember just seeing something so utterly and completely special about it, because I didn't remember ever truly seeing a game like this or experiencing any of the feelings that a game would provoke or any sort of media would provoke in such a manner, the way that Shadow of the Colossus did. It felt incredibly unique, incredibly fresh, and incredibly special. And it was a monumental game. I could not, like, this was the moment. There's been a lot of times, through the 90s, I feel, where people who loved video games they were desperate to prove that gaming was an art form. I feel like they wanted people to see it and accept it as an art form more than they even believed it, because it was a hobby to pass the time and people were trying to assign some legitimacy to it. And this is where you see a lot of games that, I enjoy and I love, that people try to look at and say, look at the plot. It's so deep and it's so philosophical, and it goes into all these areas, and this truly makes it an art form. And I'm sure, like, I believe that's the case. Yes, that gaming is an art form, but it felt like it was a little too try hard in many cases, or some games would be put on a pedestal to such a degree just because they wanted to put it on the same level as books and playwrights and other forms of high art. Whether it is or not, that's completely subjective. I'll leave that up to the listener. But I felt like there was just more of an effort and a struggle to do so. Shadow of the Colossus was that game where it finally was like, I went from wanting to believe it to truly believing that gaming is an art form. That was the experience I got when I first played this game. I'll never forget playing it for the first time. The thing is like, I don't think I've played it since. I think I've tried a couple times and I fell off hard within like the first 30 minutes or so. But nothing has ever replicated the feeling that I got when I first played this game when it first came out 20 years ago. It was such a mind-blowing release. I never thought games could do what it did.
Are we not doing phrasing anymore? No.
Well, clarity, Shane, clarity.
Mind-blowing release. I like that. Yeah. You never forget your first time.
Mind-blown. Never. Especially with the dead girl. So Soha, what was your personal experience with Shadow of the Colossus?
You're just gonna leave it to me with that one. Okay, I get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, my history with Shadow of the Colossus is one that I remember some bits and pieces because my memory sucks a little bit. But I got to provide a little bit of context. So I was about 12 years old at the time. I think the context that I need to provide is that here in Brazil, the PS2 was really popular, but it only really got popular at around the time when the PS3 was coming out because, well, obviously the new console is going to come out, so the old console is going to go low in prices, and that's when people are going to start to get it.
No, that's how it used to be.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah, now everything is just expensive, so it don't go down in price anymore. I remember that I got my PS2 at around 2006. Right around the time, I think everyone I knew was also getting one because it was quite accessible, and they also came jailbroken out of the box. So that's neat. I could play pirated games if I wanted to. I mean, totally legal games that I totally got for real.
Yes.
Some dude in a shady, storefront got me.
Did you spend real money on them?
Yes.
All right. Were they real physical items?
Yes.
All right. So that's a real legal purchase.
Yeah, checks out, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I remember one of my friends at the time talking about Shadow of the Colossus, and it was like this big game where we used to talk about a lot of games. At the time, he also told me about Fatal Frame and how Fatal Frame was really scary, and it's like, oh, it's like you take pictures of ghosts, and it's like this really spooky thing, and I was terrified of it, so I never touched it until a couple of years ago. By the way, I'm a fan now. I love Fatal Frame. But he also told me about Shadow of the Colossus, and I was like, wow, okay, this looks like an interesting game. I'm gonna take a look at it. So I went to those totally legal stores to get my own copy of the game, and I believe I do have the cover for it still. Maybe I don't know. I don't really want to go look for it, but I probably should have been here somewhere. It was one of those really thin, I don't know, the thin cases. Like, oh yeah, this is totally legit, bro. Come on, just trust me. One more piece of context that I need to provide about myself is that back when I played on the Super Nintendo at around, I don't know, we only had a Super Nintendo before the PS2, and it was I played a lot of Donkey Kong Country in it, and Donkey Kong Country made me fall in love with video games in general. Just the soundtrack and all of that, and I was like, wow, I want to work with this someday. That dream still lives on. Maybe one day I'll get there, but I want to work with this someday. Just make an incredible game just like this. And this thought would just germinate in the back of my head since I believe 2004, maybe 2003, well, maybe even before that, but around that time. And when I eventually got to Shadow of the Colossus in 2006 and I played through the game, I was just completely blown away, just awestruck. My experience with Shadow of the Colossus is just like you said, Chris. It's something that hasn't been replicated ever since. Just nothing like it ever since or before that. Because I think that if someone tries to just take this concept of, oh, it's a boss rush game where you fight this big monsters that are 200 times your size, people are just gonna say, "Oh, you're ripping off Shadow of the Colossus." So you just can't get away with it. And if you try to kind of make mix up the formula a little bit, you just risk losing that feeling. So I played it at that time, and it made me feel like, yeah, video games can be art. They can be appreciated through a lens that is different from, oh, I just want to have something entertaining, that have something that was gonna make me pass my time. No, they can be appreciated just in absolute delight. I think it's quite funny because for me personally, for video games to be considered uh, special compared to other mediums, they need to have this concept, this foundation that only video games can have, where you can do things, you can interact with it, and you can kind of have your own experience. So Shadow of the Colossus does exactly that. You can just explore the whole place and kill the Colossus the way you want and just find out how to do that. And it's part of how you end up with the experience in the end. And I think it's funny because when I read through the article that you sent from Game Design, Weta just goes like, "Yeah, we wanted to make a game that was quite fun to do this." And they were mainly just pointing out, "Oh yeah, so Colossus, right? I got this great idea for this Colossus. I'm gonna put it down," and then he would just bunker down in his room and then come out 2 months later. Oh, that didn't work. Sorry, guys, or something like that. And it's like, how does he do it? How the hell does he just go like, oh, I'm gonna make something that's cool for me, but also it's ethereal in the same time. It just did do the wizard. What the hell? But yeah, that's pretty much my experience with Shadow of the Colossus. Just I remember it back then, just blowing me away, and it has changed my perception about video games ever since. Basically, it's wonderful, and it immediately became one of my favorite games of all time. Yeah.
I think what's going to be interesting, and I don't. I mean, it's good. This show at the end of it, we discuss whether or not it holds up today. So I don't know how this will sound. I don't want to try and give away my thoughts overall. It probably does or it doesn't. Who knows? Stay it till the end. But I think how people feel about this game is can be greatly determined on how close to the proximity of its release you played it at. I think there is a little bit of that. And we'll get into why as the episode goes along, because I think if someone had played, for example, I think a game that is greatly inspired, and I think has been noted to be inspired by this game, which is Zelda Breath of the Wild. If you have played through that game recently and without context, you're just given Shadow of the Colossus and you're not told when it came out or anything like that, and you played it, I think you would have a much different viewpoint on it than what you and myself do, Soha. And we'll probably find out from Shane. I mean, Shane's going to be kind of the control here in terms of discussing this, because he just got to it and he has played games like Breath of the Wild. I don't know if you like it or not, but you definitely played games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring, which you can also find comparisons to. And you played those before playing Shadow of the Colossus. So it's going to be really interesting to hear these takes from someone who didn't play it anywhere near the time it came out. Because I mean, me and Soha have a pretty congruent view on how we view this game back during that time period. So that's going to be an interesting discussion, and how that forms how we think about this as we progress. But it's time to get. Go ahead.
I just want to say I agree with the point of playing the game now versus playing it back in the day, because it's kind of the same idea that I have with Eco. I played Eco this year, and I didn't see what's so special about it. But it's like, oh yeah, but like every game designer, especially like Miyazaki, they were inspired by Eco to start their career. So it's like there's something special there, but I couldn't see it. But it's basically because I played it today. So I get what you're I understand what you're getting at.
Mm-hmm. But let's get into this game's story. I think this part's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. But as a tradition I have started like 10 episodes ago, I'm going to read out of the manual the story, the setup the game gives you while you're sitting on the crapper after you got back from Toys R Us or GameStop or Funko Land. Here is the introduction. It's not called story. It's called Introduction to Shadow of the Colossus. Ellipsis. In an undisturbed land, protected by a bridge of unimaginable design and a temple of untold fear, a legendary myth of colossal beings exists. Miles of peaceful land plays host to these creatures resembling mountains, both in size and intimidation. As these colossi roam the unbound land freely and peacefully, it is said that within each colossus holds a secret to an unimaginable power of bringing the dead back to life. Ellipsis. All right. That is the background. That doesn't really tell us much. That's not much of a setup. So I'll kind of flesh it out a little bit more, like the fleshy innards of a dead girl getting ready for necrophilia. No, that's too much. That is too much. Chris, you're a horrible human being. Ugh, that's gross. That is disgusting. Anyway, speaking of dead girls, you have one. It starts off with a mask telling you kind of what I just did, like you're in a forbidden land, and then you go to this dude who's on a horse. The dude's name is Wander, and his horse name is Aggro, and he's carrying this dead girl into a temple, and he wants to bring her back to life. He's stolen a sword from his village or land or people or whatever. And this sword has magical powers, and it helps you find, as it just said, these colossi that you have to go and defeat if you want to see your beloved, assuming beloved, it could be his sister, could be his mother, then necrophilia gets really weird.
And that's
But
normal in Alabama.
yes, it's the wild plains of that's where it takes place. It's an island off
Lord.
the Gulf of Alabama. That is where Shadow of the Colossus is. But yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, New Orleans, they have voodoo. So, I mean, that could go into the dead people stuff. But when it comes down to it, you have to go and destroy the Colossus to resurrect her. That all being said about the plot, I haven't kicked it over to Shane for the plot to kick it off for a while. What did you think about this game's story and how it was told?
Yeah, so there's going to be a lot of parallels between, I think, how I feel about this and how I feel about something like Dark Souls, in that there's a lot of just environmental storytelling in this game. It doesn't give you a whole lot in the way of exposition, which I'm fine with, because I don't think too many people love reading a novel's worth of text when you're trying to play a video game, unless you're playing a graphic novel or a visual novel, rather, in which case that's kind of what you're there for, and also the anime yiddies. But anyway, so like it does a really great job of creating this like sense of place. It gives you just enough of the plot and the narrative, and then you're kind of filling in a lot of the rest of it however your brain wants to. And that always ends up being a lot more memorable, but generally a lot more effective too, because everything is not just explained to you, because that's not terribly interesting. And so, you know, apart from just the baseline understanding of like, oh, I am Wander, I have this horse and a dead girlfriend, and man, do I sure want to bring her back to life. And I guess this seemingly omniscient voice is telling me that to do that, I gotta kill a bunch of colossi. So I guess I'm gonna do that. I think the rest of it really sort of like unfolds really organically, and it's not until really the back, like, I don't know, whatever, like fourth or so, maybe even less than that, of the game, where there's more like intentional plot development, and that's where things start to really culminate. But it's a very straightforward plot, all things considered, at least on the surface. And obviously, because we're a show that doesn't, like, you know, sequester spoilers behind a wall or a certain timestamp or anything, we're just spoiling things anyway.
We just spoiler.
Yeah. Despite the fact that I kind of knew already, because it had in fact been spoiled for me, there was still like some real emotional impact to, well, obviously to losing your beloved horse. There's that. But also kind of the ramifications of your actions. That I actually did not know. I didn't know how that was going to play out exactly. And then after taking down, you know, all 16 of the colossi, and it's like, oh, well, actually, you were releasing 16 fragments of, you know, this essence of this like evil entity that they were trying to lock away. And you were played this entire time. And now also, to add insult to injury, he's going to use your body to manifest and try to wreak havoc. And then you play as the thing for a while. That was unexpected, actually. But it also, it has a lot of weight to it too, because like you really think about it, you know, you're just like, man, like you're existing in this very gray area, like for most of the game. And because I think as a player, you can see both sides of sort of what's going on, right? Like you can understand his, you know, Wander's motivation, obviously. But as the game sort of progresses, you're seeing this happen where you're killing these creatures that were kind of just like chilling and kind of doing their own thing. And I think a lot of people, including myself, you start to kind of feel like kind of bad about it. You're just like, I know I want to bring my girlfriend back, but like, am I the bad guy here? And
are we the baddies?
Yeah. Are we the baddies? And like, kind of, But it's a really interesting exploration of, the sort of like hero archetype or trope, where it's not clear delineation between like good and evil. It's, well, you have something that you feel is good and right, and honestly probably a little selfish, and then there's all of the follow on, the knock on effects of that you are like irreversibly changing things in this world for your own ends. So it's an interesting exploration of like that very gray area. It kind of in a way it's it feels a little akin to something like The Boys, where it takes something that we always take for granted as like just good guys are good, and kind of explores that with a little bit more depth. Of course, they go other places that this game doesn't, like inside a giant penis or whatever. But hey,
yeah, Dick Dragon.
Yeah, but yeah, man, I dig it. I think it's not like, I don't think it's up its own ass in as far as like trying to be too pretentious. Really, it very easily could have, with what it's trying to accomplish here. But I think it did it pretty well, and I actually really enjoyed how it sort of unfolded over the course of the game. So,
Soha.
Well, it's pretty much what Shane said. There's a lot that is up for interpretation here. Like both the manual and the game itself don't really. Man, if there's a page worth of text in this game, it's a lot. Like there isn't much to be read. You have the thing that Lord Aemon says at the beginning, and then there's everything that Dorman says about the Colossus, and the thing right at when Wonder gets to the temple, and then Yen, and that's all the text you have. So everything else you kind of have to piece together and interpret the way you think it's best. There is quite a lot of ways to see how Wonder, if he really had the right to do whatever he wanted, if he maybe saw that was as good. I don't think so. He was just selfish. He just wanted his girlfriend back. It was like, hey, we can only have passionate sex if she's alive, and I won't be arrested for that. So I'm gonna steal this sword and try to bring her back with his pagan god or something like that. Everything else is just, well, you go, you take the Colossus down, and we're gonna get to the gameplay and soundtrack later, but it doesn't feel good to take the Colossus down, and so you come back to the temple and do it all over again. And it's just, as you do this, you see Wonder getting progressively dirtier, progressively darker. He's just, he gets more and more, let's put it, fucked up as the game goes on. And at the same time, if you notice, which is also funny because the localization manager for Sony at the time was the one that gave the idea to make it less subtle. There are doves that appear at the same rate as the shadows around you. So every Colossus you kill, when you come back to the temple, there is a shadow looming over you. They're just staring at you while you're standing there at the floor. Then you get back up, the idol is taken down, and you turn to the shrine where Mono is, and there's a new dove. And there's a new dove every time you kill another Colossus. I think it's funny because at the end you are basically a victim of, you have the consequences of your own actions inflicted onto you. Dorman takes possession of you. But since the beginning of the game, one of the first things that Dorman says is that, well, you have the sword, you want the girl back, it's possible, but you're gonna pay a high price. You know,
Mhm.
Dormin never just holds back what he's about to do. He's just saying, "Oh, are you sure about that? Are you really sure? I mean, you came all
You
this way.
sure about that?
You gotta be motivated." And Wonder just says, "I don't care. I don't care. I want her back." So it's like, "Okay, man. Okay, I told you. I warned you. So okay, here you go. Kill this guy and these other 15 dudes." So it's like there's not much that is yeah completely told for you, just up in your face. But the subtlety of how the story comes out is very nice. You just go like, "Oh, I see. I understand how things happened." And especially, I think the brunt of the story comes at the end and during the credits, where Wonder is locked into the Forbidden Land together with Mono, and eventually Agro comes back too. Well, it's surprised that the horse is not dead, thank God.
Mhm.
And Wonder turns into a baby with horns, and there isn't really much reason to think that um where those games are connected, other than, well, there's so little to go on that we might just think it's this way, because there are many similar things between the games, like similar. I think that the patterns you have on Wonder's cloak are also the same patterns you can see on Eco's own clothing as well. Or I don't remember exactly what it is, but there are things like that, and they all kind of delve into this uh tales of curses and whatnot. So when Shadow of the Colossus ends with a baby with horns and you go play Eco and Eco has horns, it's like, oh, so maybe they're the progenitors of these horned race of humans or something like that. And then you go play The Last Guardian and it's like, oh, there's more curses. There's like chosen children that are raptured by the trickles and all that. So many things are just, you know, do it with it what you will. But I like it. I don't think it's up its own ass. I think Ueda just focuses more on conveying a cool game with, some sort of feeling that goes with it, rather than trying
Mhm.
to put up a story that is really deep and all that.
Yeah, I would agree with everything both of you have said. I think what you all said was like on point. One of the things I found that was through this conversation is how much it kind of reminds me of like old epics. When you think of Beowulf, or you think of like the Epic of Gilgamesh, or just a lot of those old tales that were told through oral history, stories that had a relatively basic premise that was used to tell a relatively basic moral story. And that's what you're getting here at Shadow of the Colossus. There's not a lot of dialogue, but it's telling a story in a way that only a video game can, going back to the whole entire point of whether or not a game is art. There's no other medium that could capture the way it's telling the story other than through the interactive media of video games. So, like you were saying, yeah, Wander progressively gets more fucked up. He gets more gray. He becomes more monsterish, more zombie-ish. While Mono, your girlfriend, she starts to look more alive. Her appearance starts to brighten. But also at the core of this, when you think about it, it is a love story, but it's a story of just kind of a love story of youth, of reckless youth. It's not saying that the love isn't genuine or isn't there, especially at the end where you see Mono taking care of Wander, who is now a child. So now there's the mother's love, not just the relational love. But you have like another level of it, and like because of the dedication to it. But there's also this story that shows, hey, there is a tradition that happened in this old village of his, and this tradition was there for a reason, and that reason was justified. They were trying to stop people, even though there was a you could revive the dead. There was a heavy price to doing that, as was stated, and that is reviving a giant demon. So we have a sword. The sword is powerful. Don't take the sword into the cursed land. And this dude's like, I don't care. It can't be that serious. I'm going to just ruin tradition and do what I want to save my dead girlfriend, who is a sacrifice. And why was she sacrificed? We don't know. We don't know why she was sacrificed. So it's showing like there is an importance to tradition in the old town, and that this tradition was correct, and breaking that tradition ruined everything. But at the same time, like he's like there's still hope in this land at the end of it all, because it's not like it's completely over. It's completely depressing. The final scene is the Wander being taken care of by Mono, and they're in a spring with a bunch of animals like fucking Snow White or some shit, right? So it's like there is a future here in this supposedly cursed land, even though it's only the two of them as human beings, but a land that was supposed to be desolate and scary and dangerous is actually now a land that's very peaceful and quiet and full of life. So there's all these sorts of dimensions to it that can be applied. So I think it's brilliantly told too, because you can infer that. Someone else might have a completely different interpretation than I can, because the game doesn't overwhelm you with dialogue. It doesn't hit you over the head with its plot points or what's important. Again, the subtlety, that's what's important. And as Shadow of the Colossus delivers that on so many levels, it makes you feel such a range of emotions without ever telling you what those emotions should be or where they should be placed. It lets the player figure it out on their own. And that's what makes the storytelling so good, even though it is basic, but it's the delivery and the execution that makes it powerful. And that's what Shadow of the Colossus is. We're going to keep on moving into the gameplay. I'll start off this portion by saying, ooh, okay. I get it. I get why it is the way it is. The controls are interesting. I can see where Dark Souls got some inspiration because they are very unconventional, much like Dark Souls is on first blush. Every button has a little bit of a purpose, but like triangle is jump, and you're going to spend a lot of time holding down R1, which is grab, as you try to climb things, almost to the point where like you will wear out your trigger finger. It felt like it could be reconfigured to be better, but then I started thinking, well, where would I put these other buttons considering what this game is trying to have me do? It's so awkward, and sometimes jumping.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you mentioned that, by the way, because the remake does that. It gives you the option to use completely reconfigured controls. They modernize the control scheme. So there is a solution to it, and I played it that way, and I can tell you it is better.
Okay, but you get used to it. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just very unconventional.
Yeah,
but there are some problems. Okay, we already said like this game is about scaling colossi. You have a stamina meter, very similar to Breath of the Wild. If you have not played this game, you have played Breath of the Wild. Very, very, very similar. Like lifted.
Just the difference, a big pink ball.
Yeah. You have a life meter, and you have a gauge that can measure how strong you're going to have your attack, because your attack is a little bit more unconventional too. You can swing your sword normally, or you can bring it up to stab. You also have a bow and arrow, which is not entirely useless. It's more to gather, get the Colossus's attention, and occasionally you can pick up items, and that's a puzzle element too. Anyway,
lizard tails.
Not entirely needed, but also helpful. But the thing is that sometimes scaling around the detection isn't the best, or you'll get reoriented in a weird way. Jumping is very awkward, especially sometimes with the camera angles being horrendous. This game has some serious gameplay flaws that, in a game that is so leaning into immersion, as I think of it as its key element, it can have severe interruptions in that immersiveness by how clunky things can get and how slow things can get. I understand why when I tried going back a couple times with my mindset and where I've been playing games in the past 10 years, why I bounced off in like the first 30 minutes. I was like, I'll get back to this. I know I like this game, but I'm not in the mood, because it can be very, very, very abrasive. And that's what even my takeaway on this playthrough is I got to force myself to get used to it, because I'm coming in, I'm not liking this. I'm not liking a lot of the platforming. I'm not liking scaling. It's kind of bothering me. Soha, what did you think?
Oh man, I never quite had a problem with the controls. I mean, it's pretty much 3 buttons, right? If I remember correctly. Just 3 buttons. What else do you need to do? No, but I get what you mean. I think I got used to how the game handles most of the time. And the PS2 version of the game is a lot worse. In the remake, they made some adjustments on how Wander gets, played around when he's on a Colossus, so he doesn't actually just lose his footing with literally anything. But I did suffer some trouble on scaling the Colossi, but with grabbing, trying to go for a certain direction, because sometimes you just don't really go where you want to. And this becomes a lot more apparent when you're trying to do the time attacks. It's like, I'm on a time limit. I need to clear this as quickly as I can. And by the way, for some goddamn reason, the first 3 Colossi have the strictest time limits in the whole game. I cleared the first one. I had to try like 3 or 4 times because it was that strict. I was playing on hard mode, by the way. I did the time attacks on hard on the remake. I didn't bother doing the PS2 because I was just replaying the PS2 for comparison's sake. So I could remember, so that's how the big pink ball looks like. The second Colossus was a bit tough as well because on hard mode, you have the additional weak spots. Sometimes you need to figure out the best route to go from one weak spot to the other so you don't actually just run out of time. And then the fucking third Colossus is a bitch because you need to do the whole thing, go to the center of the arena, wait for him to go back a little bit because he starts pretty much right on it. So he needs to take his few steps back, and then he swings his big ass rock sword to the ground and it breaks the on guard. So you gotta make him swing again, and then you climb his arm, and this already takes a whole minute on the 6-minute time limit that they gave you. And you need to hit 3 weak spots. 1 on the left arm, 1 on the belly, on the belly, and 1 on the head. And getting to the arm is horrible. It's terrible because you jump and sometimes he moves the arm and you fall. And when you grab, you didn't grab before. You grabbed the part of the arm guard that he had there. Try to let go. Well, you fell again. Redo. Whoopsies. So it was so fucking frustrating to try and get the time attack for this Colossus. Every other Colossus after that, except the 12th one, which was one of the quadrupeds, the tiny ones, the one that you have to scare with the torch and make him fall down.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That one was bullshit too, because for some reason during the time attacks, he just wouldn't cooperate. He wouldn't go back up. He would just walk a few steps, shake, walk a few steps, shake again. And I'm like, bro, I don't have time for this. I don't I gotta stab you, man.
Okay.
And I couldn't do it.
But to be clear, that's only in time attack mode. That's not in every mode.
Yeah.
It's like not normal mode.
Yeah, in normal mode, I didn't have problem with that. When I was playing the game normally, I was just like, well, I'm going to take my time here. I'm going to see if I can get the proper footing, the proper stamina usage here on the Colossus. And I didn't notice the problems with, grabbing things that often, but sometimes it did happen. Sometimes I did want to go for a certain direction and wanted to just kind of not do it. So but I got used to it. Like if I wanted to go down, it's just like, okay, I'll let go a little bit and then grab again, and usually it works. It's just mainly a problem with getting up and diagonals in general. But for the rest of the controls, never had a problem with anything. Just bow and arrow, good, very useful. I think that I never quite realized just how useful using the bow and arrow against some Colossus fights is. I always had a lot of trouble with the 15th one, the big monkey in the Colosseum. And there's a part for the fights where he has to swing his weapon on the wall for the blocks to drop down so you can go up to the bridge. I never quite knew how to do it until now, when I just thought, what if I get his attention with a bow and arrow? But it's not just getting his attention with a bow and arrow. He knows where you are. So you just stay there for a little bit, wait for him to look at you, and then he's going to start rotating his shoulder, and that's when you shoot him in the shoulder. And then he gets pissed off, and then he swings the weapon. It happens every time. And I was like, oh my God, I never knew that. I'm such a genius, bro. Finding new things out about this game every time.
See, all I did was I just annoyed the shit out of him with it. I just kept shooting him with arrows until he finally swung at me. I was basically a mosquito.
I mean, that's what Wonder is in the end.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
deadly mosquito. He's malaria from hell.
But yeah, controls, it didn't really have much problem. I can see how people do have problems with the controls, but I never had them. I think there's some things that feel funny to me, just how you can swing the sword normally, but that's only useful one time. And there's an achievement on the PS4 remake for you to kill a Colossus doing that. And I have no fucking idea how they want you to do that. But, whatever. It's there, I guess.
All right, Shane. On to you. What are you thinking?
Yeah, so I mean, like, obviously, full disclosure, I played the PS4 remake, so there were some quality of life things that occurred there. But by and large, I actually thought things were pretty smooth. I mean, I didn't really get a chance to really go into the time attacks, like, at all. I'm probably going to tinker with that a little bit later. But my primary goal was to get through the main chunk of the story so that we could talk about it today. And at least in, the normal gameplay mode, I thought generally it was pretty enjoyable. Like, it controlled really well. Scaling things felt good. The only thing that like truly pissed me off was, and apparently they made this better in the remake according to Soha, so I can't imagine what it was like in the original, but man, there are some of these colossi that just are absolute dicks about like swinging you around for just forever. And you're just hanging on for dear life for so long. And like, I get it, right? I mean, you're trying to kill them. So like, I understand. But at the same time, from just a gameplay perspective, it's just like, okay, dude, just chill out. Just let it happen, man. Like, just let it happen.
Did you know that you can stop them from swinging if you hit them before they swing?
I did not.
They kind of flinch a bit. Well, they kind of flinch a bit, so you have time to charge up another stab, and you kind of not allow them to shake you off as often that way.
Well, that would have been probably helpful.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, I really enjoyed the gameplay, actually. And the thing there's a couple of things I do really like about how this was constructed. One is they didn't feel the need to fill space. And actually, I think the negative space, such as it is in this game, is used to a really great effect. It gives you this very like pervasive sense of scale and sort of like isolation, which I know is what they were going for, because you're, traversing this area and it is vast and you definitely feel that, but traversing it on aggro feels good. I'm an idiot though, and did not realize that you have to press and hold the button for aggro to sprint. And so I shit you not, it got me until the 15th Colossi before I was like, oh, I don't have to just like keep pressing this to make sure he keeps sprinting. I can just hold it, because the entire time I would like press to like, cause there's like 3 stages of speed, right? There's like you kick once and he sort of trots. Then you do it again and you're at like sort of that mid speed gallop. Okay, great. And then the third one is you're like all out sprinting. The sprint will stop anytime you change direction, even a little bit. If you are not holding the button down. And I thought that was intentional and how you were supposed to play the game. I was like, man, this kind of sucks. This feels like, are they trying to go for a realism thing here that like if you tell your horse to like change direction a little bit, it's going to slow down or something, which I guess may be true. I don't know. I don't fucking ride horses, but like I was like, I don't know, this feels kind of janky. This kind of sucks. And then fucking 15th Colossi on my way to him, and I was like, wait a minute, what if I just press and hold this? And I was like, oh my god, I could have been doing this the whole time.
Oh man.
But no, man, I like it. And the encounters I think are awesome. I love the puzzle element to it of like trying to figure out how to conquer each one of the Colossi. And I appreciate the fact that I think they struck a really great balance here in that I did not have to look up a guide at all.
No, you don't.
And I was able to figure out pretty much everything. There was one exception on the last Colossus, but what did you want to add?
I wanted to just add, because I haven't talked about the Colossi yet. Yeah, I mean that's the star of the show, really, and you're right. Like the puzzle solving is to the point where you could miss the solution, but then if you see the solution, you're like, I'm such an idiot for not noticing that. Like, that's dumb. One caveat to that is that there would be times where I did know the solution and then it just wouldn't do it properly. Like the one Colossus, like you said, the third Colossus, where they had hit the middle, where I would be standing in the middle and he kept swinging over me. By the way, I played the PS2 version for what it's worth. And he would keep missing me and he wouldn't hit the center. And I was like, there has to be something in the center. Am I doing something wrong? I looked up a guide and I'm like, I am doing something right. He's just not hitting me where I'm supposed to. He's just not hitting me. He's not hitting the place where he's supposed to be. And it's getting irritating. Same one with the Colossus where you have to get them over the geyser. I was like, what am I doing wrong? He's right there and he just wouldn't respond correctly. So there were instances where I knew what I was doing, but for whatever reason, it just like get in the right position. Come on, move. But for the most part, I didn't have that problem with them. And I want to point out a few standouts. I loved the flying Colossi. I loved both of them. I think the second one, it got a little too repetitive. Like, I understand the point you're trying to do here. It didn't probably have to go that long. It didn't, because I mean, you're doing the same thing 3 times. But aside from that, it was a lot of fun. And the fact that like when it was flying at you, had to jump up and grab on. Like that's awesome. Like, I don't care what anyone says. That's so great. I love the bull, like the bulldog Colossi, where it's like you're navigating through a map. You're jumping platform to platform, almost like kind of like an action platformer kind of thing. And then you finally get to the end, and you just ride them out and stab them. It's a really quick one. I love that payoff. And the final Colossus, I hated the first time I played this game, but then like I played it this time, and I was like, oh wow. Like, this is actually a very well-crafted boss, like beginning to end. Like, this is very intelligently designed, and I appreciated it. Aside from the fact on the PS2 version, it doesn't have the weak points where you have to shoot with the arrow to move you over. It just pans the camera to the area. No, it's not lit up. So, like, I was wondering, what am I doing wrong? And then, like, I saw what it was doing in the remake. And there's like a crack in the shoulder and a crack in the arm. It's not there in the PS2 version.
Actually,
so
it was like,
that's funny because I still struggled with that on the fucking remake. That was the one thing that I was going to say. That's the one caveat that I had to not having to look anything up, was that one part of the final boss, because I had no issues up until I got to the second hand. When I stabbed the back, he reaches around, you jump over, you gotta jump onto his hand. Then you go up to his shoulder, stab the shoulder, he brings his other hand around, and then you jump onto that hand. And at that point, I was just lost. I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? I couldn't see. I tried jumping from the hand to his body. There was nothing to grab onto. I was like, what am I missing? And I struggled with that for quite a while. And then I was like, all right, fine, fuck it. Let me just look it up. And that's the only thing I had to look up. And it was like, you got to shoot his other shoulder with the bow to get him to get over there so you can jump onto it. I'm like, how the fuck was I going to know that? Okay, fine.
See, that's it's one of those things. It's
You can also stab the hand to make it stop moving.
Yeah. See, I didn't know that either. And then I read the walkthrough thing for it. I'm like, oh yeah, no, that is really helpful because otherwise he's just flailing you around constantly.
But again, it's like you see that and you're like, oh my God, it's like right there.
Yeah.
It's like right in front of me. Oh yeah, I guess that was kind of obvious when you look back at it in retrospect. It's like you feel so smart when you do it on your own, but then when you do have to look it up, you're like, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, but that was the only one I really had to look up. Everything else I was able, I mean, some took me a little bit longer than others to kind of suss out like, oh, this is what I should be doing here. But for the most part, I was able to kind of figure them all out, which it feels really good, you know? So like I said, I think they struck a really great balance there. You know, not being so like obtuse that you're just like, I have no clue what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm just dying over and over again.
The Colossus really are a really great part of the game, and figuring them out is where the fun comes from. And every time you, like I said, I learned something new about the 15th Colossus. Is like, oh, I can do that when he starts rotating his shoulder. Just learn things all the time. Like I learned as well how you can kind of quick kill the 13th one, which is just when you go on top of him, you can kind of damage the weak spots enough, but don't take him out yet. So you go from one point to the other, from the head to tail, and then you come back just taking them down one by one. And I think I managed to one cycle him. I don't remember correctly, maybe two cycle, but it's possible to two cycle instead of three if you do that. So it's like, yeah, that is something that you can do, and it's quite cool. But I wanted to also bring out like what Shane mentioned with the whole area, just the scale of it all and how you traverse it, because that is also the other part that is quite known about this game. Just
actually, that's a good segue, because this can segue right into graphics too.
Yeah. Just the emptiness, you know, just there's pretty much nothing to be done. Pretty much because there is one thing you can do, and that is hunting lizards and fruit, and that is something that is it's not said anywhere. They don't tell you that anywhere, not in a manual, no hints,
nowhere,
anything.
Nope.
And then you go like, oh, great, I'm gonna. There I see the fruits. I see the lizards with the glowing tails. Do they mean anything? I shoot them with bow and arrow. Oh, I can pick them up. They increase my health and stamina. Oh, okay. And then there's the shrines too, and you can pray on them to save your game. And it's quite interesting how that permeates throughout the whole area. Just a tangent real quick before actually going to the graphics. I wanted to ask you if any of you made to the secret garden.
No.
Was that the thing that you needed to collect all like 79 coins or whatever?
No, the secret garden is a place at the top of the shrine of worship where you can climb. You climb up, and you need a really, really big stamina bar for it, or you can be smart. Like you can cheat, you know, like I cheated when I did it. You gotta beat the game like, I don't know, man, like 10 times or so to have a stamina bar big enough to be able to climb it the normal way.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Or in the PS2 version, if you're playing the NTSC NA version, you do diagonal jumps. Diagonal jumps don't waste as much stamina for some reason, so you can just abuse them. You beat the game once, and I got to the 15 Colossus, and then I started climbing. Diagonal jumps was enough for me to get to the top. And you can reach the secret garden, which has fruit that take your health and stamina away instead of giving you stuff, which is another thing that goes into the story, right? It's just, oh, there's fruits that make you inhuman throughout the land, but in a secret garden, there's fruits that turn you back human. Interesting, is it not?
I did not even know that.
Yeah. And then the PS4 version, I did pretty much the same thing, but the exception is that the diagonal jump thing was patched, so I couldn't just go up it normally. So I did the time attacks, and if you do the time attacks, you get special items. And one of those items was the Fluff of Desperation, which is pretty much a parachute. So what happened was that I would get as much stamina as I could. I would climb as much as I could, but every time I had to do one of the jumps to another part of the climb, I would use the parachute to save some of the stamina and some of the time. And I eventually found a place where I could rest in the middle of the climb. There was a ledge, a very thin ledge in one of the walls where you're supposed to grab onto it, but I managed to land on top of it, and I could just walk, and my stamina would go back up. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. That's all I needed.
Mm-hmm. I need to check out the secret garden. I've never visited. I've never gotten like my stamina that high either. So there's
Yeah. You can also go to the entrance to the Forbidden Land, which took me like 10 minutes walking to get there. It's really far. When you get there, you're blown away by some wind or something. So it's like, that's your reward for getting that. But yeah, the Secret Garden is really beautiful. So we can go back to the graphics. Thank you. You're welcome, Chris.
Well, okay, I'll go ahead and elongate this section one more time really quickly. But no, so apparently this is a PS4 remake exclusive. I had to look it up to make sure because I didn't want to talk out of my ass here. But so the remake evidently included 79 collectible coins scattered throughout the map as well, in like pretty hidden spots all around the world. And collecting all of those unlocks a room underneath the shrine of worship that contains the Sword of Dorman, which is a unique weapon that apparently like super boosts your attack power, but reduces your health regeneration. So that is exclusive to the remake.
Yeah, and I've heard that there are some places where the coins are hidden that I don't know how people found them. Like, one of those examples is in a 5th Colossus, you gotta drop from the Colossus to one of the towers in the arena, and it's gonna be there. And it's like, what?
Yeah, and some of them require the unlockable items, like you need the Cloth of Desperation to get to some of them.
Yeah. Like, what the hell? Who thought of this? 79, by the way. Like, come on.
Yeah, I'm going to be
so
honest.
many.
I feel like that was kind of unnecessary. Like, I feel like it's completely antithetical to the whole design ethos of this game. Like, I think it really is, because they weren't trying to make this Assassin's Creed. You know, it wasn't supposed to be a collect-a-thon open world game. And I really appreciate that they didn't feel compelled to fill the space with all that stuff. And then on the remake, Blue Point was just like, yeah, but like, what if we fucking did though? I'm just like, probably could have done without it, but all right. Fortunately, it's purely optional.
Yeah. But as I was saying, it is quite a beautiful game. Even for the time, even for the PS2, and I played it on an emulator this time around, but I remember it being such a gorgeous game. Like, you look at it, it's like, this doesn't look like a PS2. You could easily just confuse it for an early PS3 title, like no issue at all. Because they do kind of have the liberty of not having to focus so much on things nearby. So there's this freedom to just kind of leave things to interpretation when you look at them. But the nature that is around, when you go into one of the little forests in a way for some of the colossi, you see the rays coming through the trees, and it's this kind of environmental beauty It's very, it does highlight the place more than anything else. But then you do have the design for the Colossi, and they are quite striking as well because they're like this gigantic rock beings, just pretty much fur and rock, this fuse of. It makes you wonder if they're also man-made because they don't look quite completely natural, you know. Maybe they are some kind of what's it called?
Homunculus.
I don't remember the word. It's not
like
homunculus
golems.
that I was thinking.
Or
golems.
Yeah, golems, constructs. I think it was like what I was looking for.
Well, I think they are really, because I mean, obviously they leave a lot of this up to interpretation, but I think that they were something that was constructed by like Lord Eamon or whoever, and his dudes or whoever were the ones that initially split the essence of Dorman. Like I think that they were crafted for that specific purpose.
Yes, I mean that's how I would infer it, as these were created to protect people from resurrecting Dorman, and you just happen to defeat them.
Yeah, they're like, who's this fucking kid just ruining everything?
Maybe we need a better plan. Destroy the bridge.
Blow it up.
Why did we build this bridge?
they just wanted to go back just in case, you know, maybe someday.
Yeah, just for nostalgia.
Yeah, maybe, you know, someone wants it. Someone wants that power. There's always someone. Just never the one you want. But when it comes to my graphics interpretation here is that it's not so much like the models now, except for the Colossi. I think the Colossus model, the Colossi models, those are fantastic. Those are like top tier PlayStation 2 graphical creations. There's very few games on the PlayStation 2 that can top what you're getting in the Colossus designs, especially with the fur, the hair, how that looks, and everything else. Like it's top tier, top tier. Everything else, though, I think you can tell it's a PS2 game, and this isn't a slight. Like it's one of those things where you get up close to it, and you're like, okay, yeah, like obviously. But I think that's for the better, and let me say why. Because the beauty of Shadow Colossus isn't necessarily in like the overall graphical fidelity and how far they're pushing the PS2. I mean, they are pushing the PS2. That is very evident. But it's not like Metal Gear Solid 3. It's not really even Metal Gear Solid 2 in terms of what they're doing, but on the scale of what they're doing and the diversity of the biomes and how different everything feels and how well things are designed. Just the graphical design, not so much the detail, but the design and the placement and how you have open plains or an open desert or a lush forest. And they can do that because it is empty. You can sit on one side of the world and you can see a shrine in the distance. And you can run up to that shrine. That shrine is going to have all the features on there because it's not built with 1 million polygons, because it has somewhat basic textures on the facade of it. It's not the most detailed. It's not the most beautiful that you'll find on the system. But because of that, they can do those things where you can see things forever in the distance and go out and it's just the same. That's what's impressive.
Yeah, they did the Breath of the Wild, hey, look at that thing out there, you can go to it thing way before they did.
Yes. Yes. No, exactly. That's exactly what it is. But they do that by not making it the most technically impressive game in terms of like polygons per thing, except, you know, for the Colossus. I think they when they go there, then it starts getting a lot more impressive, especially in more enclosed arenas. This is a very smartly graphically presented game. I mean, overall, it's just a very smartly designed game. And I think the graphical presentation comes into that too. They know the areas to dial it up and they know the areas to kind of dial it down. It's all on what is necessity. Because, I mean, let's be honest too, when you're doing a lot of the scaling and you can tell where you're supposed to scale, like that kind of looks a little cheesy. Like, oh, I know there's these little things I have to grab here because it's like out in my face and it doesn't look that great. But sometimes, like when it's not as obvious and they do the grass on the side of the wall, then it looks way better. But they know when to pick and choose when to do that, and they know when to blend it in, and they know how to capture the player's attention. There's also a feeling of Mobius's design. Like if you play Panzer Dragoon, and then you play this, I think there's a lot of similarities, especially when it comes to architecture. Like you look at that bridge and how it connects to the first building. That has a very Mobius feel. A lot. So there's that kind of inspiration there too that just makes it just a beautiful game. But like you can tell, like they knew what they were doing. They knew the architecture, and they pushed it when they had to, and they pulled back when they needed to. Brilliant design.
And they really needed to do it too, because the game kind of does suffer with the frame rate in the PS2. So they were working on the limit of the hardware there.
It does. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think you nailed exactly what I wanted to say, Chris. Like obviously, again, I played the remake, so clearly it's going to look amazing, and it does. But, I went back and kind of looked at, footage of the OG as well, just for the sake of comparison. And obviously there is a difference. However, you 100% called what I wanted to point out with this, and that is that there is a very clear intentionality to what was done as far as where are we allocating resources and why. It was very purposeful, and it's done to really great effect, to where, unless you're really looking for it, generally you're not even gonna notice that some of the, environmental textures are maybe not as high resolution as you'd like them to be, because you're usually so absorbed in the visual presentation as a whole rather than its parts that you kind of tend to overlook some of those things, and they kind of fade into the background, literally and figuratively, especially when you've got a lot of the attention to detail placed on really the stars of the show, which are the Colossi. So no, I think it was very expertly crafted, and it shows. Like it's a magnificent looking game. Like even if it's not as technically impressive in all areas as perhaps some other titles, I think the way that they put it all together, and the way that it sort of coalesces as this cohesive presentation is fantastic. Like I spent time just looking at stuff, just looking at the vistas and looking over the side of a land bridge, at waterfalls and stuff like that. And I suppose we probably should have covered this in the gameplay, but it sort of straddles the line between that and graphics, I guess. So I'll bring it up here. On one hand, I have a love-hate relationship with this game's camera. On one hand, I appreciate what they're trying to do by being very cinematic. They purposefully swing the camera around and place it in spots all the time that give you this very, very cinematic viewpoint of what is happening, especially when you're riding on aggro across those open plains. Like they pull it back and like down like to the side, so you get that really great like open viewpoint, and it looks fantastic. But also the camera is fiddly as shit because of that. And it like wants to force itself into certain positions to give you that real cool cinematic look. And there are times where I felt like I was actively fighting the camera. Like the camera wanted to do something, and I was like, yeah, but no. And it was like, well, too bad, because this is the way you're going to look at this. And I'm like, what the fuck? And it was particularly bad during some of the bigger Colossi fights, because like the massive scale of them, coupled with like the fact that you're being thrown around constantly, it was like there were times where the camera would just try to swing in one direction and it would go like right into the Colossus. And I'm just like, cool, man, I can't see shit. I guess this is fine. But that's sort of the negative part of it. The part that I guess I should probably highlight because this is part of the presentation piece of the conversation is that I at least like respect the choice that they made to be like incredibly intentional with the camera angles. It doesn't always work all the time, but I appreciate the effort.
Yeah.
It does help a lot on when you want to focus your attention on something. Like they do it in some of the Colossus fights where it's like the kind of hint where you're supposed to be looking at. It does help there. I don't remember having trouble with the cameras, but it's also because I've played this game so often that I really can't see many problems regarding that anymore. I've just gotten used to it. So there's that. But there's one thing that I also want to say that kind of goes with the story, which is how as you go along with the game and you kill the Colossus, you often go through some of their resting spots, let's say, especially for the second one, because you cross that upper bridge so often to go from the south side to the north side. And if you go look down, you see the Colossus there, just a bunch of sand on top of it, and the big pile of rubble that once was a gigantic creature. And there's two things about it. One of them is that it's incredible attention to detail, in my opinion, because you see the results of your fight there. And you can also go to the Colossus as it stands there and pray next to it to get into the remembrance fights, which is just, you fight the Colossus again, not in a time attack sense. So you just, if you want to fight them again, you can through this way. And second, it shows the passage of time, which is never quite clear just how much time passes every time you kill a Colossus. And it was one thing that I noted when I played the game this time. It's just, okay, how long has it been since Wander arrived at this place? Because the Colossus, they get, covered with a lot of stuff. Like it looks like years have passed from one time, from one Colossus to the other. So it's like, well, what the hell? What happened here? Is the Colossus deteriorating? Is the sediments just depositing on top of it? You see the end credits, how they show each one of the Colossus just blooming with life. Nature has taken over them and all that stuff. So really makes you wonder just how time passes during the game.
Yeah, I did notice that because like the amount of time it would take for the sand to collect that much on one of the corpses, it had to have been at least a while longer than it feels, for sure.
Now, to be fair, the elders that see you when they visit you at the very end of the game, they know who you are, so it's not that much time.
Yeah, it's not that much time, but it really does. You go from one Colossus to the other. It has to be mentioned that this is not a long game. You can beat this game in like 4 hours. So
probably more around 6 to 8, like first run.
Yeah. Maybe you can.
It's like riding a bike for me.
No, yeah, my playtime was like just shy of 7, I think.
Yeah.
So it's a short game. So you kind of need to consider the passage of time within the game without considering how quickly you're going through it. But it is something you need to stop and think about for a while, because it does seem like time in the game goes by much faster than it looks like.
I think I would agree to that. I would definitely agree to that. Okay, let's get into the music, because I would say sound, but I mean, sure. But it's we know what we're talking about here. The music or sound. If you want to include sound, talk about sound. But I'm going to more focus exclusively on the music, because I don't think the sound is all that necessarily important in this game. I mean, it's fine. It's good. Colossi roar, and the stab sound viciously appropriate. But the music is where the sound design in this game just absolutely takes center stage. It's incredible. Most of the time it's silent while you're going to the Colossus, but once you get into the battle with the Colossi, with one of the Colossi, with the Colossus, the music just gets dynamic and it's always spot on. It's like cinema. You're experiencing cinema. You're living in cinema. You're controlling it. Your actions dictate the score that you are acting in. It's brilliant. I love this. I love the soundtrack. It's who wrote the soundtrack? He's fantastic. He mostly does like anime stuff. Yeah, him. He also did like some really obscure PS2 games, by the way. Brilliant. Mostly does anime soundtracks if I am correct. But yeah, really good stuff. Really good stuff. One of the best accompanying dynamic situational soundtracks you'll hear.
Well, I think that's the key right there is dynamic, because like apart from just like, oh, you stepped into the area where the Colossus is, so now it's going to be epic orchestral music, which is great, by the way. But there's also that dynamic piece to it where you have the sort of like that backing track going on, but it's not until you figure out how to, like, you know, move to the next stage of the fight or whatever, when that occurs, when you trigger that thing to happen, the music also changes. So it's like it's this very instantaneous feedback of just like, oh, I just did something, I just figured something out. And that's great. It adds like a whole other dimension to the fights, which is awesome. So there's not a lot, right, to talk about with the sound design other than the music. However, I do want to point out that there is a little bit, because I think the attention to detail in the ambiance is also very important. I want to give credit where it's due. A lot of these things probably are just like, most people would be like, yeah, that's a given. But I like to appreciate little things. And like, I really liked the sort of intentional changes between the different biomes where, you know, going into some of the more like heavily wooded areas, you suddenly get this very lush soundscape of like, you know, crickets and like the sound of rustling leaves and all the things that you would expect. But there is that, you know, attention to detail there, which I really, really do appreciate. Now, would you notice if it wasn't there? Maybe not. You might not, you know. But at least for me, I do notice that it is there, and it adds to that like overall immersion, I think, in the experience. I also will say that there were definitely a couple of times where I was relying on the little squeaking noises that the lizards were making in order to locate where that little bastard was. So there's that. Also good there with the locational audio. I don't think they make
squeaking noises in the PS2.
Oh, really?
I think they think they did. I'm pretty sure they did. I don't remember it now, but I know that I was waiting for them to squeak a little bit so I could know if they were near my location or something like that. And there were some times where I wasn't even near a shrine where I would hear a squeal from them, and it was like, so this is a place where I can find one of the silver-tailed lizards, not in a shrine. Okay, that's pretty cool.
I couldn't hear it in the version I played, at least. I couldn't hear any noticeable difference between them and any other lizard.
Oh, there might not have been a difference between them. I was just like, I knew that they were generally going to be around a shrine. There's always one. So like when I got to a new shrine, that sometimes that would be what I would be listening for too. If I couldn't immediately see where he was crawling around, I'd try to listen for that little squeaky noise, and that would usually help. So
yeah.
I was looking here, and Kootani has worked on Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, Gamera 2, Attack of Legion, Gamera 3, Revenge of Iris, and Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. So, I can see why he was convoked to make Shadow of the Colossus.
Dude, you're really into kaiju? Great.
Might be. Diablo 3, Echoes of War.
Echoes of War?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, what the fuck is that?
I think it's Echoes of War.
What? What is that?
Is it Echoes of War? Yeah, Echoes of War. Additional tracks included as part of Echoes of War, Diablo 3, 2012.
What the fuck is Echoes of War?
I was hoping you could tell me that, Diablo man.
I know. I have no idea what that is. Is that like Echoes of War? Now I'm looking it up. What in the hell is this? Oh, okay. Apparently it's oh, what the fuck? Okay, sure. It was released in 2000. It was released in 2008. It's a 2-disc thing that had like songs and like a DVD commentary. It was contained stuff from like Warcraft and WoW and Star, like basically all of the tentpole IPs from Blizzard. So it was like an additional thing. I thought it was like some kind of friggin' expansion I didn't know about. I'm like, there's no way I don't know about that.
Well, said he wrote it for Diablo 3. I don't know where it's at.
Cool.
So maybe you can find that out. Did you already comment on the music there, Soha?
Oh, not yet.
Sure you did.
I was gonna say how it's interesting how it was called to make soundtrack for other mecha themed games. In some way, Shadow of the Colossus is kind of a mecha game as well, because the Colossus are just big as robots in a way. But
that's true.
Yeah,
stone necks.
But yeah, the soundtrack to this game is amazing. I'm not gonna talk too much about the sound design per se, because you guys already talked about it, and yeah, it does do a good job on situating where you are and, you know, immersing yourself in the environment. But center stage is a soundtrack. The soundtrack is just wonderful. It's one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. Just how the songs, they swell up when you are fighting the Colossi. It pretty much is just like, okay, so for example, you have I don't remember now which Colossus it was. I think it was the 6th one. It starts with counterattack, and it goes like, oh, you're being chased by this big ass guy, and you gotta jump through the walls here so you can hide from him. And then when you manage to go up him and stab him, it changes the track to usually is open way, or what's the name of the other one? What a great time for me to forget. It's open way, and the other track,
the other one
that starts to play, and it really shows you the progression through the fight and how you get the upper hand now and how you're the one winning. And like I said earlier, when you defeat the Colossus, he plays one of the most melancholic songs in the soundtrack, because it's not a funfair. It's not like, oh, look, you win. No, it's like, bro, what the hell did you do? Why did you do that? You killed this creature that, you know, I'm not going to say that they were just kind of minding their own business, because if you do get near them, they do aggro you. I think the only Colossi that do not are the 5th and the 13th one. And that's because they fly. So they can kind of not care until they are bothered. But every other Colossus I did try out, they do aggro onto you if you stay near them. And there are some of them, they are incredibly aggro. The fountain one, god damn, that one starts the fight shooting you.
Yeah.
But
I don't like them when they shoot me. I couldn't dodge that shit for shit.
Yeah, you just gotta be quick with aggro, because there's no other way to dodge them. And it's funny because that guy shoots a lot. He won't stop shooting. So sometimes you get kind of stun locked.
Yeah.
But yeah, the soundtrack is amazing. Like there's so many tracks. I just put it on a playlist. It's one of those tracks where it's great in game and outside the game. And like, I think it's even better when it's played by an actual orchestra. You see an orchestra doing a performance for these tracks live, and it's just amazing. It really wonderfully done, and it looks like it was a case of where I wanted to work with Otani on the soundtrack because he was kind of making something regarding kaijus, and he was into kaijus. And at this point, you just kind of wonder what, game developer from Japan isn't into kaiju in some way or another.
True.
But I like how it is dynamic. And they say that they wanted to make it more dynamic to be, really just progressing throughout the fight, but they just couldn't quite do it. And that ended up causing some of the tracks to be slashed from the final release. Actually, it wasn't that they were slashed, but they were repurposed. The end credits play like 4 different songs or 3, and it's because they just couldn't find a way to fit them anywhere else in the game, but they already had paid the man to make them, and they didn't really want it to go into waste because they were good songs, so they just like, okay, put it in the credits, put everything during the credits roll. That's why there's like different songs playing during the credits. And then there's Swift Horse, which doesn't play in the NA version for PS2 version for the game. It only plays at the end screen if you wait a little bit, I think, or something like that. When the game is telling you about the things you have unlocked, I think it's supposed to play there. I didn't hear it when I played the remake version though, so I guess you gotta wait a little bit. But yeah, it's just a gorgeous soundtrack, man. It's so great. I love it.
Gorgeous is a really good word to put for it. Yeah, that is the word. Okay, and speaking of words given, it's time to give some words to our patrons. In our patron pontifications section. What can you do to get your pontifications read here? Well, you can, as required, as it would be implicated by the name of the section, become a patron, which you can do for as little as $1 per month. We like to keep it low because we know times are what they are at the moment. But if you would like to do that, just stick around. We'll get to that. But the second part is go to our Discord. That's where everyone posts. I'm not even going to say on the Patreon because everyone just posts in the Discord anyway. And go to the patron pontifications section once you become a patron, and you can leave your pontifications there. And we're going to start this off with Van Fernal from Super Garbage Day. That says this is for Shadow of the Colossus. Van Fernal says Breath of the Wild ripoff.
Wow.
Thank you,
Agreed.
Van Fernal.
Agreed.
All right. Well,
no truer words have been said.
Moving right on from that one, I guess. We have Masked Keaton, who tells us, I didn't play it when it came out, and since I know the main things about it, I feel that the impact would be lost on me if I played it now. I'll give it credit for unique gameplay and an amazing soundtrack, though. I heard a symphony play some of it once, and it was amazing. Thank you, Keaton.
Hell yeah. All right. Backing this up, I'm going to read Matt's as well, because the next comment I think is perfect for Soha here. So Matt, aka Stormageddon from the quote unquote fun and games and reignite podcast says, I missed this on the PS2. I played this for the first time back in 2020. It was the remake on PlayStation 4. I loved it. Making the whole game a series of boss fights that are giant puzzles is such great design. Also, it's just a beautifully staged and designed game. I love the reveal at the end. I think it is to this day still one of the pinnacles of the genre. Thank you, Matt.
And this next one comes from Lucas from Game Over Hell. And they say, my channel partner, that's me, loves the hell out of this game and its creator, so I saw him play it at least once. I played Eco and quite liked it, so I can see why Sut would be incredible.
Sucked.
Sut. Can I keep that? I think it's funny.
Yes, keep it.
Okay. The frame rate in the PS2 version makes my eyes hurt, but the remake looks awesome. Haven't played much of it yet, though. I just couldn't squeeze the time for it. Hopefully soon. Yes, please, soon. You have a video to make. Also, did you know Fumito Ueda worked as an animator for Kenji Enno's studio for a while? You probably already mentioned that in a brief history, but oh well, I learned that only recently. Thank you, Lucas.
We did not mention that.
Yeah, he
Fail.
works at animation before, and that's why some of the games actually do have some really good animations. We didn't quite touch into that, but
Mhm.
Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian, just the way the humans move is very dynamic. I like it. And you can see how that's from Ueda's comeuppance as an animator,
All because of the D.
pretty much.
All right, then.
Shane.
So, next on our list of pontifications, we have Alt, who says, I don't really know how to organize my thoughts about Shadow of the Colossus. On one hand, it's a fantastic experience that hasn't really been copied well unless you loosely include Monster Hunter or Dragon's Dogma, at least from what my friends told me. On the other, it kind of feels a bit like a tech demo just due to how empty the world is. Props where props are due. It's on the PS2 and was the first real this is what scaling can look like before the PS3 era that I experienced. I think it's best experienced via remaster or remake in 2025. RIP to Japan Studio. You deserved to be a top tier modern day developer. Thank you very
Rip.
much, Alt.
Yeah, rest in peace, man. So sad. The way Sony is today, and they do mention it in the game design article. Just that back then they wanted to make attempt new things, and now you see Sony today is like, what is the AAA slop we can put out?
What are new things?
How much money can we spend on this? Oh, 300 million? Yes, send it.
Yep, and then can it in 7 days. Concord.
Less than that. The next one is from Backlog Adam, and they say, I found it overrated, and the controls were super clunky. Pretty game though, and the lore had me intrigued. In hindsight, the lack of payoff in all Japan studio games give me blue balls. Thank you, Adam.
I guess Adam never had a moment of clarity.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, maybe he needed his dead girlfriend to help him out with that.
Yeah, I don't think he has. Well, that's a complicated thing to say.
Yeah, I get it. Now that I say it. Well, in the context of the game. Let's put it in the context of the game.
Okay. I don't think Adam would care about his dead girlfriend, to be honest. Next is Dave Jackson from Tales from the Backlog, who says it's a masterpiece. I could talk for hours and have talked for hours, and Dave, just break here. We also have talked for hours about the magnificent way the game plays with your expectations as a gamer before that was cool. The way you slowly realize what's going on, the sheer scale of the boss fights, the amazing dynamic soundtrack, and the lonely grand scale of the world. And all of these things and more combined to create one of the greatest games of all time. Another reason why Fumito Ueda is your favorite game developer's favorite game developer. Also, how the hell did this game exist on the PS2? What black magic is at play here? I hope that was part of the brief history. I mean, we kind of covered why we thought it was, unless we missed something in some other article somewhere. So it wasn't in the brief history, but we did discuss how we think it got in PS2 that way. So hopefully that's satisfactory. I hope.
Actually, they kind of just wanted to release it to PS2. They wanted to make it for the PS3, kind of, push it forward, and Sony was like, no.
Mm-hmm. I guess because they used the Eco engine and they just supercharged it essentially. So that must have been a really good engine. And what Soha said earlier, and Lucas, it's all about the D.
It's all about the D.
Kenji Anno. It's all about the D.
Heck yeah. I don't know. Am I up next? I don't know what's going on now.
Yes, you're up next.
Great. Okay. We got the last pontification here from Lethgo of the Afterglow podcast. And he says, I played this game late and I understand the appeal, but it's not a game for me. If I want to play a game that's a giant boss rush, Contra 3 or Contra Hardcore is more my style. I mean, I could get behind that. I'm a Contra 3 fan myself, but yeah, there you go. Those are our patron thoughts
Now it's time for our thoughts, and we're going to wrap this episode up with whether or not we think this game has held up today. As tradition goes, myself and Shane will go first, and then Soha will give the closing thoughts, since he is our guest, so he'll have the final word. So, Shane, how about you kick this off and let us know whether or not you think this game holds up today?
Well, man, the remake sure does. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think having looked at the controller layout for the OG, which is still an option in the remake, I can 100% understand why it would take a little getting used to. The remake does allow for, I think, what is for most modern gamers, a little bit more of an intuitive control scheme. So that helped a lot. But I think, as we said, there was a lot of care that was put into the crafting of this game. And I think even if you were to go back and play the original, even with, some of the frame rate issues and the, let's say, unconventional control scheme, I think the experience as a whole, I still think it holds up pretty well today. But with that being said, my personal take on it, just because we do live in 2025 at the time of this recording, that I think if you're gonna experience this game, I haven't heard, so maybe there's something that I missed, but I have not heard a compelling reason for somebody to play the original versus just playing the remake. I think the remake took the original source material and, very respectfully brought it into the modern era, added some quality of life, gave it a nice new shiny coat of paint. The 79 gold coins, take it or leave it, those probably didn't need to be there, but whatever, they're optional. So I would probably say, like, if you're going to do it, that's the route that I would take. But if for whatever reason you just really want to experience it the way that it was, I still think it's a worthwhile endeavor, especially considering it takes like 6 hours of casually playing it to finish the story.
All right, I guess I'm next. I'm going to start off, but I'm going to have to talk this through because I'm not entirely sure. So this is going to sound weird because I have not watched Citizen Kane, right? If you listen to any film buff, major film buff, film snob, historically speaking anyway, I don't talk to film buffs or film snobs. This is sounding terrible already. But like a lot of people hear like the Citizen Kane of movies or the Citizen Kane of video games or the Citizen Kane of blah, because Citizen Kane was a very important, tremendous milestone within its media format. It did a lot of things to bring movies in the forefront in terms of cinematography and plots and storytelling and everything like that. It's essentially the forefather of modern cinematography and storytelling and so on and so forth. Does that mean it's like the best movie of all time or everyone's going to go back and watch it and enjoy it? No, but it's extremely important in the overall scheme of things. And that's kind of where I'm at with Shadow of the Colossus. I think it's one of those games, where you always get those questions of if you could go into it and have your memory wiped and experience anything in video games for the first time again, what would it be? And Shadow of the Colossus is almost right at the top of that list. Just playing that game for the first time and the beauty and the grandeur and the puzzle solving with the Colossus and just the experience that was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. But every time I go back to it, it's kind of like, man, I kind of wish I was playing a better controlling game right now. And I am talking about the PS2 version. I'm not talking about the remake. I've not played the remake. But that's kind of where my mind is at. At the same time, I think if you love video games and you value video gaming as an art form, you value video games as art, this is a necessary play. And it's not that bad controlling. It's fidgety. It takes a lot of time to get used to. There's problems moving around, as we discussed. But I don't and Shane, if you're saying you got it, then it's the potential's always there. But I don't know how much of that idea can be captured today as the same way that it was communicated to people who were playing it for the first time 20 years ago. I think when I hear the question, does it hold up today? That's really what I'm thinking. But you can get it. I saw Dave and I saw Matt, and I'm hearing you say, yeah, like I still love this game. It's still great. And if people who didn't play it back then are getting those feelings today, then it's hard to say no, obviously. I think it's still there. It's still worth playing. I just think a lot of the things that made it special as it was, are trapped in the immediate time period it was released. Well, probably within a 5-year window, like up until 2010, because there is truly nothing like it. And anything that tries to be like it, as Soha, I think Soha mentioned earlier, is always going to be accused of just trying to rip it off. And so it's really hard to just give it the same level of endorsement that I would a year or two after it came out. This is why, like, we've done our top 5 lists and top 5 retro games and top favorite games of all time. I never say Shadow of the Colossus because I don't want to go back to it and play it as it is now. But in terms of importance, it's up there. But does it hold up? There's a long way for me to say, does it hold up? Yes, but not in the way I wish it did. Because this game is an incredibly special and important game to me. And I think it's an incredibly special and important game. But I think it's just clunky enough in terms of its mechanics that it does hold it back to a degree that just straight up recommending it to a newer player is a little difficult at times. So, but still, yes. Soha.
You do put things in quite a good perspective there. I do agree with a lot of things you said. First of all, yes, I do think it holds up today, but there is the perception, like, not the perception, but there is this thing around the game where it might not have the same impact playing it today as it did when it was released. Because there was not just anything like it back then, but also just people talking about it. Like, oh, you know about this game that came out? It's like, oh, this is a big thing. There was also the whole social aspects around it that would make you curious about this game. Nowadays, everyone that, knows video games a little bit probably knows about Shadow of the Colossus and its notoriety as one of, like, the most well-known games for the PS2 and also probably ever, due to just how people talk about it, it's the first example of when people start discussing on the whole video games as being art aspect. I do think, much in the same way that I played Eco and I didn't really see what was, that special with it. I can see how there might be people playing it today and not really engaging it, being engaged with it in the same way that I did when I played it back then, or how a lot of people did. I get it. It's because things do move on. The time does move on. Things change. Cultures change. Even then, even so, I do believe that Shadow of the Colossus is one of those games that, if you do care about video games in some way, like if you're not just completely casual about it, if you do look at this medium through a deeper lens than the average person, I do believe it is one game you have to play at least once. It is paramount to be experienced to know, or at least try to understand what the fuzz is about. Why do people talk about it so much? Will you understand if you haven't never played it before and are playing it for the first time today? Will you understand why people talk about it so much? Probably not. But there is a chance that you will. And that is why it is one of those games that you have to play if you never played before. You need to see for yourself just what it's about, why it's talked about so often, even to this day, even 20 years after being released.
All right. That wraps up our thoughts. Pretty universally, a yes. So go play Shadow of the Colossus if you have not. And if you have, probably go back and play the remake, because that's apparently something I'm going to have to do, because I have not. But thank you so much, Soha, for your thoughts. Thank you for joining us on this episode. It's been great having you. You're an amazing member of this community. You do so much for us, and thank you again. And let people know where they can find you and your stuff out there on the internet.
Well, Chris, I thank you for allowing me to partake into this episode and being part of this community as well. You guys are pretty cool. Everyone in the Discord is, even if I have been slacking off in a Retro Hangover Review Crew a little bit. But yeah. Also, yeah, you do
And you're
need
allowed
to play
to.
the
I have to. So yes, I do.
Also, yeah, you do need to play the remake, but there's one thing that the remake doesn't get right compared to the original one, and that's they got rid of the big pink ball, man. Like, come on. That's my big pink ball.
We love big pink balls.
Yeah. They changed it for a small golden ball that extends just like the health bar. I mean, it's not fun, man. I want the big pink ball. Anyway, like Kirby, like the big Kirby in Shadow of the Colossus. But yeah, with me meandering with nonsense constantly, because that's what I do, you can find me in the Discord for Retro Hangover. As we have said before, I am hosting the review crew there. So please be a part of it. We need more people to be a part of it, because it's fun discussing games that we might have never played before, such as Getter Love, Chora and I Party Game Tanjo, as we did last month.
Did many
people play it? No, but it was funny.
It sure was.
But you can find me on YouTube and Twitch. My name is Soha, but the O is a 0, and it's a 0 because the O was taken. They took my goddamn O, bro. So I had to switch it with a 0. So it's SOYAH0, Sohayo. That's on both
No
YouTube.
clarity for you.
Yeah, that's both on YouTube and Twitch. You can also find me on Game Over Hell, as I do some videos there together with my co-host Lucas. I could say that I am on X, I mean Twitter, Chitter, and Blue Sky, but I don't really post that often. If you want to find me, there's the links in my YouTube and Twitch if you want to go there. But still, you can also be part of my Discord server too. But the links are going to be there as well. But pretty much just YouTube and Twitch. You see my stuff there. I make on my own channel. I make things in Portuguese, but I do attempt to subtitle them. So, you know, the last one that I did for Doom 2 of Eternity 2, I did subtitle, so you can watch that. Just embrace the different languages this planet has to offer. Other than that, yeah, that's it. That's where you can find me. Talk to me on Discord through the Retro Hangover Discord server. We're cool.
Oh yeah.
Well, if I was looking for a segue, I guess that would be one of the better ones. So, speaking of that Discord, it is open, it is public, it is free to join, and you know what? I'm definitely not biased at all when I say that I highly recommend that you jump in and join in on the various and sundry conversations that are going on in there at any given time of the day. We truly are a global community in there, which it's a great thing to see. And so if you're not a part of it, you should be. So you can find that along with all our other goodies That would also include our Patreon and our merch store, should you wish to support the show in that fashion. We also understand that, shit be sucking kind of right now for a lot of people, and the economy is balls. So, like, you know what? If Patreon's not in the budget, like, we get it 100%. But, if that's something that you are willing and able to do, we have never not given bad advice. So, I always think it's a terrible idea for anybody to donate to us, but they do it anyway. So, nobody listens to me is what I'm saying. Anyway, if you want to do that, you live your own life. Do what you got to do. Do what you want to do. You're probably an adult. At least I hope. You shouldn't be listening to this if you're not an adult. You should probably be in bed. Go to bed. Anyway, let's see what else we got.
It's 10 o'clock in the morning.
You know what? It's never a bad time for a nap. That is what I've learned as I've gotten older. I have embraced the concept of naps more and more as I've gotten older.
I do it at work. They get mad at me.
I mean, well, you gotta be more stealthy about it. You gotta level up that stealth skill, man. But at any rate, yeah. So all of our stuff's at a link tree. So you can go there. Go to linktr.ee/retro hangover, and all of our things are conveniently in one place just for you. Chris, anything else that you want to add in before we wrap this thing up and go join the inexplicable deer and squirrels and shit in the garden with the horned baby?
Yeah, sure. So if you want to talk about the horned baby a little bit more, you can do so over at twitch.tv/retro hangover. I'm obligated to talk about that. Obligate to talk about our Twitch channel, which we do at 9 p.m. Eastern time on Sundays. What are we playing? I don't know. I've had some good times. I beat Castlevania on stream, so that was fun. I've been playing some Mega Man games, and Shane has been playing random indie titles.
Heck yeah.
For your pleasure. So that's what we're all about over there. And we haven't said anything weird lately, so I can't even say that assholes taste like pennies because we haven't had that discussion. But if you want us to have that discussion based off the various conversations that we had in this episode, that should be fun. Head on over to twitch.tv/retro hangover, 9 p.m. Eastern time on Sundays. Sunday's the best time to talk about that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
So see you there. Yes. Back to you, Shane.
All right. Well, I think with all of that now having been said, until the next time,
play with your, if you warm it up, it doesn't feel dead joystick.
We got a couple more of these left. All right, next up we got Sega Boy 7, who says, I remember upgrading my GPU at the time Fear was released. Hell yeah, just to play it. I remember these. Wait, is this about Fear?
Oh yeah.
Let me delete. It is about Fear.
I was like, how is this related?
Never mind.
I noticed that he put the pontification for Fear in the middle. It was like, well, the Fear already passed.
He responded late.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I guess this is the last one then. Hopefully
it was in Fear.
Congrats on the new GPU for playing Fear.
Yeah, man. Cool. I don't know,
job.
Ashton. I guess you got to back this all the way up to where I said there were 2 left. Because now that's false.
I want to keep that in.
I know.
No, we're gonna keep that in.
Do your thing. Whatever. It'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Shane here with a quick message. The one rule Chris and I have always gone by regarding advertisements is this. It has to be something we use and can personally vouch for. If you know me, you know I love coffee. And Bones Coffee Company has been my go-to for home brewing for quite some time now. Their small batch beans come in an impressive variety of flavors like Mint Invaders from Chocolate Space, or Electric Unicorn, which I swear tastes exactly like Fruity Pebbles. And the best part? No added sugar or calories involved, just natural flavors infused right into the beans themselves. Build your own sample pack of 5 4-ounce bags to find out which flavors speak to you, or jump in head first with full 12-ounce bags. They've even got K-Cups. Step up your homebrew game with Bones Coffee by visiting bit.ly/RHPBones. That's bit.ly/RHPBONES.